There's a solar eclipse at a critical degree of Aries, making an out-of-sign square to Pluto. And that is very intense energy. What does this mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the solar eclipse. It is on April 20th. It's at 29 degrees of Aries. We're going to do a short overview, and then we're going to go sign by sign. So in astrology, we talk a lot about cycles of time, because the planets move at a regular rate, and because they're making an orbit, then we see things come up over and over, and sometimes then things that happen can unfold over days or weeks or months or years. And so right now we are talking about eclipse energy, and so a lot of the things that we're talking about could be events that happen during this time, which is around April 20th, but they may also be things that actually unfold over weeks or even months later. And so, right now, I think that this is a time to be paying attention, because you can get some messages about what this eclipse energy is for you, but recognize that it may not happen on the day. Eclipses are always interesting times because it is the universe helping us go through a change. Now, this particular eclipse is rather special because it's at 29 degrees of Aries, and it's making an out-of-sign square to Pluto. And so basically, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is an 11. This is a high volume eclipse. But just starting off with the eclipse part itself, we'll deal with the square to Pluto in a moment. We had a very similar eclipse at 29 degrees of Aries in April of 2004. So think back, many years ago, April 2004, think about what you were doing, what you were changing in your life, and then when you bring that energy forward, recognize that now you know more, you have more resources, you have maybe more connections, you certainly have more knowledge and experience, and so now you can guide this energy. So all eclipses are about change, and this one, though, everyone's going to be talking about that it's at a critical degree. And this means that it has extra intensity. So when we look at the planets going through a sign, we do the numbers from 0 to 29. So 0 is where it starts. It doesn't start on 1, it starts on 0. And then it moves to the 29th degree. And that would be the last degree before something changes signs. And so the intensity of the 29th degree compared to, say, the 28th degree is about 10 times. I often talk about the 29th degree as this energy of feeling like you're at the Olympics. So maybe all of us could run around a track or, throw a javelin or something like that. But if you're at the Olympics, you're thinking, I have, been working on this for 20 years. I have put my friends and family through so much. If I don't do the best at this, then all of that is wasted. That's the energy of 29. That's the level of intensity. And then we add in this out-of-sign square to Pluto. Now, Pluto has gone into Aquarius, and we call this out of sign because a natural square would have been Pluto at 29 Capricorn, but it's just flipped over, and now it's in 0 Aquarius. And so when it's an out-of-sign square, there is still the square energy, the energy of taking action and dealing with things head on, but it comes a little bit out of nowhere because it's unexpected being out of sign. So let's break this down. First of all, there's Pluto involved. And even though astronomers out there may have downgraded Pluto, I will tell you, Pluto packs quite a wallop. Pluto is about transformation, and a lot of people like to zero in on that word and say, hey, we have transformed, but Pluto is the process of transforming. And so that means that everything is broken down or brought down to its core level before it can emerge from the ashes. Basically, something has to almost pass away to then re-emerge as something else. So this is kind of like the butterfly, so the the caterpillar, in the cocoon is a completely different creature than the butterfly. And, and it has to fight its way out of this cocoon to survive. And I think that there was some sort of, something I read where these very, tender-hearted people said, let's help out these caterpillars. And so they cut open the cocoon so that the butterfly could be freed without having to struggle. But then they found that the butterfly couldn't fly because it hadn't fought to get out, so it didn't have the strength to fly. And so this is part of this transformation process. Because this is about Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius, this energy, which is 0 degrees, by the way, is also a critical degree because the 0 is the very first degree. This says that the energy is so new, we can't even name it. Well, we don't know what's going to happen, and so that creates more of the tension. And then, of course, there is the aspect of the square. So, and, I've talked about the different aspects on this channel, and we have not focused on the square very much. So the square energy is like when your friend needs a wedding cake, and so you've ordered it from the bakery, and you go to pick it up, and they've done it completely wrong, and they want to charge you anyway. And there's only one thing you can do in this situation, and that is to fight with them to get that good cake for your friend. And that, like to get, her name spelled right on the cake, or to get it to, have them redo it any way possible and as quickly as possible. That's the square energy. That something has to be done right now. It means that you have to face it head on, that you can't shy away from this. So when I was looking for different analogies to this solar eclipse square Pluto, the tarot card that comes up is the Tower. And so I know that the Tower card, when you see the picture, it feels, intense. So, but this is an intense aspect. Now, this does not mean that you're going to specifically have this intensity. You may have been working on this energy for a while. And so this is just going to be the universe opening a door for you. That's fantastic. But this is the energy, though, is this idea that this couple lives in this stone house, and so they feel very safe and secure. They have nothing to worry about. And even if they had received lots of signs that they need to move or change something, they ignored those. And then comes the lightning bolt that throws them out of the castle, and that is the transformation. They're going to land. They're going to have to dust themselves off. They're going to have to rebuild the house or go find a new house or rethink how they're living. So that's the energy of what we're experiencing now, is that maybe not you personally, but somebody in your life, or certainly people in the world, are going to go through something where they thought they were safe and secure, and now things are turned upside down. So I had watched a video recently about the power of the clean slate. And this is related because it's interesting that when the people do land, now they do have, in a sense, a clean slate, but it's also the process of that slate being cleaned. And so you may, in your life, kind of out of the corner of your eye, see the universe with that giant eraser coming towards you to say, I'm going to take something out of your life right now so that you have a clean slate, so that you can have a reset. So then where does the story go? If this is the Tower, what happens next? Well, interesting, in the tarot cards, the next card is the Star. And in the Star card, this person is out in the wilderness. They're naked, and so they have nothing, and that is like being tossed out of the Tower. But in this, they also have everything, because they are communing with the universe. We can see the stars above. They are connecting with the life on the planet, because we see the bird there, watching and almost the companion. And then this person is doing this very magical thing of she's pouring the water onto the land, which is going to make flowers grow and all that. But she has so much. She has so much abundance. She is pouring the water into the water. while standing on the water. She has become magical herself. She has become this fresh slate, but now she recognizes her own power. So as we go sign by sign, I'm going to talk about where this eclipse is hitting in your chart and the things that potentially could change. But I will tell you that if you're already in motion, then eclipses are much easier. And that is, it's so much easier to pivot and change if you are open to change. And that is, if you are sensing that there's something going on in your job, if you already have your resume ready, if you already have connected with other people and, built a community, then you're just transitioning into a new job. If you are thinking about home and, you're thinking, oh, goodness, do I have to move? But you've already been thinking, well, this is what I'm going to keep and this is what I'm going to let go of. And you've already decluttered a bit, then it's easier. This is where if we anticipate that there's always going to be change in our lives, and this is just one of those points of change, then we say to ourselves, I've changed in the past, I'll change in the future, and I can change right now. And so this is how we can use this eclipse to benefit us. And I will say that for some out there, this eclipse is going to be extraordinary. This is going to open a door for you for a job that is amazing, or to give your business such a boost, to help you find someone that you can really love and connect to find the perfect home. So this eclipse could, make you feel like you're being tossed out of your castle only to find something so much better in the process. Now, if this wasn't enough going on, then there's also Mercury retrograde. Mercury will be going retrograde on April 21st to May 14th. It's going retrograde in the sign of Taurus. And this means that as you start to move forward, as changes start to happen, there's going to be kind of a false start. Like there's going to be this energy of like everybody says, oh my gosh, everything's different. And then they will go, oh, no, it's not. And then there's a little bit of a hesitation. This also could mean that there's a feeling of trying to go back to something you've done before. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It is that you could feel like you want to move forward when there's just this avalanche of paperwork and phone calls and just everything daily life-wise is so bogging you down, you don't have time to move forward. So I think, though, overall what this means is we're kind of getting the signal that it's a fresh slate, everything's going to change. And then it just pauses for a moment. And, in astrology, this amount of time, between April 21st and May 14th is a moment in time. And it just pauses for a moment and kind of looks back in this maybe almost romantic, nostalgic sort of way and says, wow, look at how life was. Because in a moment, we're going to turn and see a whole new life. Everything is different. And so I do think that over this period of the Mercury retrograde, there's going to be a lot of talk about the past, a lot of thinking nostalgically, and a lot of, let's go back to when it was good, which we know is impossible. We have to go forward and make it good. So for this video, we are doing tropical Western astrology. You want to check your rising sign and listen to that segment as well as your sun sign. The rising sign is going to tell you more about what's going on with you, whereas the sun sign is going to give you more insights into what you might be doing internally. If you want to know more specifically about how this eclipse is going to affect you, I do readings. I also have some video courses up if you're interested in learning more about astrology and other topics. I have courses on the tarot. I forgot for a second. I have a course on the tarot and also on Flying Star. That's a little mini class that covers 2023 and 2024. The links are in the description. You can also check out my predictions on horoscope.com and astrology.com and consider signing up for my newsletter. And that way you'll hear about different live streams that I'm doing, classes, and other things that are going on. All right, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, you guys are doing this eclipse in your own sign and it's hitting your first house. So first house is going to be changes about your physical self. And so you want to look at what you can change in areas of diet, exercise, how you present yourself out in the world. You know, that could be everything from what you wear to how you speak. And then it is how you relate with people. You know, how you meet people, how you feel when you're connecting with them. Are you working on those relationships? Are you shying away from those relationships? How do you lead something? How do you take the lead and move forward with a team, or even taking the lead in what it is that you want to do and not wait for somebody else to give you permission or to open a door? This is also about changing how you express your feelings, especially anger, frustration, or irritation. And then how you take action and deal with procrastination, or the opposite side of that, which is actually much more Aries, which is to jump in without a plan. So you want to look at these different aspects in your life and see what you can do to make some changes. Now you're getting the out of sign square from that Pluto in your 11th house. That means that friendships could help, maybe getting with a group of like-minded people, maybe using technology to help yourself move forward on some projects or to learn some new skills. So there's a direct connection here and an opportunity, especially related to people you know or groups and organizations around you. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mars is not making an aspect with the Sun. And there is so much energy here about, you know, learning more about yourself, how you are expressing yourself out in the world, and shifting that way. You are going to attract a lot of attention, but it may be from someone that you weren't considering in the past. And so maybe that's a time for you to say, okay, I'll try going out with you, even though you don't know that this type of match would work for you. Or you may just say, you know what, I am working on myself. I'm, not ready to enter into something new right now. So let's just keep this in the friend zone. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-sextile to Mars. And so you want to keep the communication open between you and your partner, especially if you are going through a lot of stuff. You want to say, normally, Aries is so competent and so able to take action and get through anything. But this is an eclipse in your own sign. And so you want to cut yourself a little bit of slack and to warn other people that you may not be exactly yourself during this time. So consider, just keeping the lines of communication open with your partner, and then things could go pretty well. Now, when it comes to friendships, Mars is making a sextile to Uranus, and so you have some opportunities to make some new friends, especially by, getting involved in some community activities, also to reconnect with friends from the past. So this is a sextile. This means that you need to initiate some sort of action, and then things happen. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus, which is in your house of communication and information. And so what's very important is kind of keeping your ear to the ground, because as changes come up, not just for you, but for other people, this is going to open up some financial opportunities for you. And so you want to either make a note of it if you're not able to take action on it right away, or to jump on it and say, okay, I'm going to take action right away. So this means that you could hear something through colleagues, or, a random video pops up for you, or something that tells you that there is a change going on and an opening is taking place. So keep your eyes open for that over the next couple of weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from a business or from investments, you have some older energy, past stuff going on. The focus is more on finding new sources of revenue rather than trying to maintain old sources. And so I think you're making about the same as usual. There's no aspect going on between Venus and Pluto. And so even if you're making the same as usual, it's not as much as reaching your accounts. So maybe something is promised. Maybe they have just longer terms to pay. So Or this is a time where you do want to refresh some of the things that you're doing, because maybe there is that you're, sending out the same message over and over. And so it's not bringing the same results that it was before. And so focusing on that, what could be new, what could be innovative, what could be pioneering, those are all within your wheelhouse. And so these are things that you do naturally. So I think that, again, you're making probably about the same as usual, although some of that money may not reach your accounts within the 2-week period, so you want to adjust for that. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, there's no aspect going on between Venus and Uranus. There's so much contentious energy here. I think that even if you started the conversation about getting a raise, it may end in a battle. And so you just want to wait until there's calmer energy. It's also quite possible that there are some external things going on. Maybe your boss has some major changes going on, and so they don't want to talk about it. Or there may be some changes in the company or in the industry. Of course, there's changes going on in the industry. I mean, with all of this, the technology changes going on, there's so many things that we don't know how they're going to manifest at an individual level. So save that conversation about getting a raise for another time, unless they're initiating the conversation. Okay, Taurus, you guys are doing the solar eclipse in your 12th house. So it is time to look at where you're giving away your power, especially to anything that is addictive. And of course, we're all addicted to something, and that doesn't necessarily mean drugs or alcohol. We could be addicted to working too hard, or pleasing people, or a television show that we have to watch too late in the night and therefore we don't get up on time, etc. So look at dealing with addictions and how you can, curb this desire to indulge in the addiction. I mean, we can have addictions and not be, beholden to those impulses. This is also about dealing with your shadow self and, looking at things maybe you've done in the past and looking at them with compassion and forgiving yourself and, being able to let go of things from the past and move on. This is about clearing out past hurts, also clearing things out in closets. I mean, literally clearing things out. Getting the plumbing to work, anything that's, like hidden pipes and things like that, clearing those things out, looking at your physical self and the inner workings that you have and clearing those things out as well, by eating healthy and, or, in some cases doing a fast. This is changing the way you approach your sleep and looking for ways to get restful sleep. This is also about your intuition and psychic ability and how you can work on these skills. And, not just to say, oh, like some people magically have this and some people don't, but this is something that you can cultivate in yourself. And then this could be this transformation for you where you bring spirituality into your daily life, where you look at, the walking in nature differently, where you look at making your dinner differently, where you might, do prayer or meditation or journaling or lighting a candle every day to set your intentions. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making a semi-sextile to Venus. So there is some energy here, but it's a little out of step from what maybe you were thinking. So that means that you're at the grocery store just trying to get your stuff, and then you meet the person and you don't really have time, but at least stop long enough and exchange that contact information. It's also possible that you're pursuing someone and their schedule's not lining up, that they are kind of, running from this thing to that thing. So try to be patient and allow them the time they need to get things together so that you can see each other. But we do have because there's an aspect, we do have some energy. And so if this is something where you want to move forward on, just meeting somebody new, you have the abilities this time. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is not making an aspect with Pluto. And you've got this eclipse in your 12th house, which is very solitary. It's almost like you're working on these things by yourself. And so when you come together with your partner, you stick to the more mundane topics, the everyday things, did you unload the dishwasher type of conversation versus getting into the real deep and heavy stuff. And I think that that's perfectly okay. There'll be a time where this energy lines up and you'll be able to explain the process that you're going through. But right now, it looks like you're doing this in a more solitary manner. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury, which is in your own sign of Taurus. And this means that, first of all, to make more money, you have to put yourself out there. You need to make the call, make the connection, send the email. It is also about taking lead, taking that initiative to say, I'm going to take some action. This is, that you put yourself on points, that you put yourself in the front of the line to say, I'm going to do this. And yes, that comes with some sort of risk, because what if you're wrong? Or, what if it wasn't the right time or something like that? But this is where you can push yourself forward and you have the best chance of success when you do. This is also, too, about looking at how you present yourself out in the world, and that can help you make money. Sometimes, we get into a little bit of a bubble where we're not necessarily seeing how the other person is responding to what we say. So looking at it from that perspective can help us make some small changes, some little tweaks that can make it much easier for us to make a connection and, therefore make the money. Now, when it comes to money derived from your business or from your investments, you're making about the same as usual. I see the money coming in because it's reaching the first house, but there is no aspect going on between Mercury and Jupiter. So it's like it's within reach, but you haven't quite got it. So I think it's coming, the profits and stuff are coming outside this 2-week period. I think that also there's so much introspection going on that you may be opening up your accounts and looking at them and making some longer term plans, maybe not necessarily making the adjustments right now, but looking at and thinking, all right, when this reaches this level, then it's time to sell. Or, maybe come the next season, we're going to look at redoing advertising for the business. So I think there's some bigger plans in the works. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck. Again, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune, and you've got all of this energy in your hidden house. So that means that you're not as noticeable at the meetings, and that could be, well, maybe you're on vacation, but also, maybe you are working behind the scenes on something. Maybe you're in the middle of the project. Maybe it's just not the right time where you don't necessarily have the thing to show the boss of why to give you more money. Or maybe there's so many changes going on in the company that you're just sitting back and watching to see when the dust settles. So over the next 2 weeks, it's not a great time to be talking about a raise. I think you're going to be making about the same as usual. Okay, Gemini, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in your house of friendships, community, technology, and the future. This is the 11th house. And so this is where you're dealing with issues around friendships. And maybe that is, that you are physically separated from a friend, and so you're not as close. Or maybe there's some difficulty with this connection, and so that you have to, explain things and talk it through. This could be that you are in an organization and the organization is changing, or that your role within the organization is changing. Maybe you're not in an organization, but you need a tribe and you need to go find some like-minded people to be with so that you can feel the support and support others. This energy here is in the 11th house is about taking a stand, about making society better. And that could mean that you are, marching on Washington, or being an activist, or signing a petition, or looking at running for office. This is about, what it is that you believe in for the bigger world, and how you think that things should be, and so that you will campaign to save the climate or to save your town. This is also about technology and looking at some of the technological things that are going on, and saying and understanding that, of course, technology is always going to change, and it's always going to feel like it's way bigger than one person can learn. And that the most important thing when you're dealing with technology is always to focus on the question that you're trying to answer. And that's with any big topic. So, because otherwise it's kind of like trying to learn French by memorizing a dictionary. That's not the most effective way. I mean, you can do it, but it's just not that effective. So if you are looking at technology, figure out what it is that you're trying to do and ask that question. And because now with all of the new tools that AI has brought us, now answers are easier to get than ever. So this is a time to be less holding yourself back about technology and more just try it, like dip your toe in the water and ask some questions, and then you'll find that you get answers more readily than you thought. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making a semi-sextile with Venus, so there is an opportunity here, especially if this is some sort of friendship that then becomes love, and therefore it's a new love because you never considered that with this person before, but because you're doing so much energy in this area of friendships and community, then this is something that could turn into love. Now, it's also possible that you could meet someone through a friend, and it's a semi-sextile, and a semi-sextile says you have to do the little irritating details and then you get the prize. And so the little irritating detail might be, showing up for the social event when you're already tired, or asking a friend to fix you up, or getting fixed up, but it's a blind date, and so that you're nervous about it. So, but there is some good energy here. So if you're looking for new love, this is some possibilities over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter. And that means that everything's kind of going on as usual. Now, it's very interesting that the majority of your planets are in the fourth quadrant, which indicates that you're doing more things out in the world and less things about home. By the way, I do have a playlist of videos about the different quadrants on the channel. If you go to my channel, the playlist is there. So the energy here shows you moving outward. And so you're getting that support from home, but you're not really, focused so much on the relationship itself. So everything is going on as pretty much usual because you are focused outward. Now, when it comes to friendships, your chart is lit up because not only do you have Chiron, Jupiter, Moon, and Sun there, which is everything from healing past friendships to finding new friendships. Mercury is making a sextile to Mars, so that facilitates the whole process. So you may get some social invitations, some opportunities to join a group, to meet friends of friends. You can meet new friends, and all of this starts with you just saying, I want to meet some new people, and that will start the ball rolling. It's the smallest little step forward that's going to get you the prize. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from this moon that is going through the eclipse and making that out of sign square to Pluto. So the energy here is that because the position of the moon, I would say if you work for somebody else, you really need to take a very hard look at the company itself and the industry that you're in to make sure that it's not getting seriously disrupted at the moment. So, and because of where Pluto is, I would say that this is suggesting that you get your resume up to date, that you make your contacts with others, make sure that you're in professional organizations, that you're doing networking, that you have enough online skills that you can, get on a Zoom call so that you can do an interview, and that you bring other tech skills to the highest level that you can, over whatever period of time, like, because this is eclipse time. So this is more than 2 weeks. I mean, this could be a 6-month period for some. So, but this says to raise that bar because the signs that you've been reading in your company could accelerate. This is not for, like, not every Gemini is going to go through this because you may have already recently changed jobs, or you may be self-employed or something like that. So, but if you work for a company, you've worked there for a long time, and you see that new technologies could disrupt this industry, this is a time to really pay attention because something could happen in this next 6-month period or as soon as the next 2 weeks. And so you want to protect yourself. Now, when it comes to money from your business or from investments, the moon is making an out-of-sign sextile to Saturn. That is an opportunity for you to gain more profits by doing something that is a little bit unexpected, a little bit out of the ordinary, or to do things that are slightly outside your comfort zone. When you do those things, I think that you could have some success, but this is it's a need to be proactive in an energy that is a little bit relaxed. And so you have to kind of self-motivate, is that a good word? To get yourself moving in that direction, because there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of other things going on. And so, taking time to step back and say, what can I do for my business or my investments can bring you extra profits during this period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and that's like a paycheck, of course, we already were discussing about this. In this house, you have Chiron, Jupiter, Moon, Sun. So you have a huge amount of energy, but there's no aspect going on between Moon and Mars. And so there's still a little bit of a disconnect. The energy is not quite lined up. So it's certainly difficult for you to ask for a raise at this time. It'd be better, I think, to really establish relationships with people there. If you know that, one of your colleagues is moving on and you like this person, make sure you get their outside contact information to see how they do in their new job. Maybe they'll pull you along with them. So it is also maybe possible that you're thinking that you don't want to be there another day without getting more money. And so before you do charge into the boss's office and demand the raise, get your resume ready, get things in motion, because if you get a hard no, you are probably going to have to move on. So, this is a lot of this energy you already know about because you're naturally intuitive. And if you're old enough, look back at 2004 and see what you were doing then and see if there was a job change then, because that could indicate that there are some opportunities to change again this year. Okay, Cancer, you guys are doing this eclipse at the top of your chart. That is your house of career. That's your 10th house. And so looking at your career in general, is this the place you want to be? Eclipse energy is longer than a normal new moon. So yes, something can happen now, something can happen in the next 2 weeks, but most of this energy is going to unfold over a 6-month period. So looking at your career, do you want to change jobs? Do you want to move up in the company? Do you want to kind of put this on autopilot so you can go start your own thing? So working out issues that you have with your manager or coworkers, or just the job itself. Sometimes when we're doing something that we don't enjoy and yet the universe hasn't moved us out of it, it's because there's still a lesson for us to learn, and we need to look at what we're still gaining there. You might say, wow, I'm doing these same reports over and over and I'm so bored. And maybe that is, you have to look at technology and figure out a way to automate this process. Or maybe you're saying that the people that I'm dealing with they're just awful. And so maybe this is working on your diplomatic skills or looking at what is really going on with them. Why are they so upset? Why are they so mean? Is there something in their lives that is causing them so much pain that they are taking it out on you? So looking at some of these things to shift a deeper dynamic so that the universe opens a door for you, either to you get another job or that you get a different manager. So now also 10th house is about how you present yourself in the bigger world. And so this is your reputation, how you present yourself on social media, how you present yourself just when you're, out in the world. And so how, you're treating your neighbors and how you're feeling that they're treating you, how you're interacting maybe with people in the city itself, if you're dealing with city council or if you're dealing with any sort of government. This is also about time and time management. So looking at your schedules, finding a scheduling system that works for you, looking at where you're procrastinating and what are the obstacles, finding a way to smooth that path between, stopping and restarting something. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making an out-of-sign square with Pluto, and you have a lot of planets elevated. So this is actually a very strong time for you to meet someone. Now, it's interesting energy to meet someone on an eclipse because that is such of this kind of a lightning bolt sort of energy. So it could be someone who really knocks your socks off. But do be careful that it's not someone who's bringing a lot of drama into your life, especially if that's not what you're looking for. And most of us aren't. So this is, though, an aspect that can really elevate your reputation, make you more seen. And so it's like your profile is highlighted somehow in the world. And so it is easier for you to meet people right now. And in amongst those people could be a new love relationship. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making an out-of-sign sextile to Saturn, which means that a little bit of effort will give you some great results. So that is, like going, and why am I saying this? You're Cancer, you already go the extra mile, but maybe it is the extra mile here is understanding that your partner does have limitations themselves and they can only do so much, or that, that there has to be something where you nurture yourself some of the time because your partner's just not available. But I do think that this aspect, which is a very positive aspect, it does say that something good can happen between the two of you, but there is a little bit of a shift of understanding, a little bit of looking at things from a different perspective. And so, even just trading places for a little bit, where you do all of their chores and tasks and they do all of yours, and kind of be in each other's shoes could bring enormous insight during this time. But overall, this is good energy for you, for making a breakthrough, for finding out something about your partner that you didn't know, and feeling closer as a couple. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the sun, which is making that out-of-sign square to Pluto. And Pluto is in your house of resources. So it's quite possible that a resource that you had for income is coming to an end, that something new will emerge after this one ends, but that something is, if you're suspecting it's going to stop, it probably is. And so, or look at different sources of income or expected money. Maybe you were expecting some money from a refund or inheritance or tax, refund or something, and it's just not coming, or it's not coming in the size that you were expecting, and then to make some adjustments. This is, though, a square, and so a square says you can actively work on this. And so if the resources that you're looking at are, like loans or crowdfunding, or you're starting a Patreon account, or something where you're bringing in money, look at what you can tweak, look at being ready to take action to make this happen. So if you've been procrastinating on launching something, and don't launch right on the eclipse. There's not good energy for launching on the day of the eclipse, but, past that, a few days after that, then saying, okay, I'm ready to launch. I'm going to, show the world what I'm doing with this elevated sun and moon. You could do that now, and then start to get resources from unexpected places. So I see that money opportunities are definitely there for you, but there's a little bit of a fight that needs to happen to make this actually come into your hands, and it's worth the fight. And by fight, I mean action. Now, when it comes to money derived from career or from your investments, the sun's not making an aspect with Uranus. So most of what we're talking about here is coming to you outside of this 2-week period. This is more about you putting something out there in the world. Maybe people are purchasing, but the payment's not coming through yet, or whatever platform it is holds it for 60 days. So many of them do. So this also can feel that you're just starting the process because Pluto's at 0 there. And so you're just starting the application. You just put up the website. You just started the investment. So, and then of course the profits will come later. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, the sun is not making an aspect with Venus, but you have a lot of planets in this area, so you have a lot of activity. So even if the money doesn't come exactly during this 2 weeks, it can really come. And this may be that you're negotiating a higher salary for a different position. And so that takes a little bit of time. Maybe you are in the job market. And so therefore, you have to start the job and then they hold back a paycheck or something like that. So there is a lot of energy here, at least to get the conversation going. I just think that the money's not in your hands over the 2 weeks, but making as many changes as you can during an eclipse energy like this is beneficial. So even if you're not thinking of changing jobs, but just, again, getting your resume ready just in case, networking a little bit, these could be very helpful for you in the future. Okay, Leo, you are doing this solar eclipse in your 9th house. So this is about looking at what's holding you back from traveling. What is, like where are you wanting to go? What is the reasons that you're not going? And if at the moment you can't do that, then what are the steps that you're taking to make it happen in the future? Now, this is also maybe you're dealing with a legal matter, and so the solar eclipse says to really engage with this, figure out how it is that you can complete this or how you can get out of this, but to not just let this be somebody else's responsibility if it's your legal matter. Now, this is also about dealing with paperwork, so that's government paperwork included. So that would be, getting licensed, getting certified, possibly enrolling in school, possibly deciding whether you want to stay in school, thinking about your education in new ways. Maybe, like if you had thought about going to a university, but maybe you're going to study something that could be done through self-study in a much expedited and cheaper way. So considering that, thinking about if you are in school, are you leaning in? Are you bored with the work? And if you are, figuring out a way to get engaged again. This is about, writing and teaching and publishing. And so maybe finishing your novel, maybe taking what you have finished in your novel and starting to market that. Maybe through a series or to send out your query letters. This is also your house of beliefs. And so examining your beliefs, maybe the eclipse brings something that is contrary to your beliefs and changes your world that way. It may signal a return to a faith or a church, or it may say that this particular faith no longer aligns with your beliefs and you move on to something else. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's making a conjunction to Jupiter, and the planets in your chart are very elevated. You've got Jupiter, Moon, Sun up in the 9th house. You have North Node, Mercury, Uranus in the 10th house. You're very easy to be seen, and that means that in whatever you're doing, you're going to be noticed. You're going to be noticed when you walk into the party, when you walk into the meeting, when you walk into the group. The only way you're not noticed is if you hide at home. So this is your opportunity to reach out to someone through maybe online dating, or, somebody who is a friend or family member fixes you up with someone. But just even going to social events and meeting new people, that's how you can make that connection right now. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's not making an aspect with Uranus, and now we have Pluto there, and Pluto's just going to be there for a few months, then it's going to back up into your 6th house again. But this Pluto here is causing you, perhaps at this point, maybe down the road, to look at your relationship and say, what are the good parts here? What are the parts that we need to let go of? So there may be some introspection about relationships, maybe some analysis about relationships, maybe a thought in general about relationships, or very specifically about your existing love relationship. You might say, well, everything's great except for, these couple of things. And then thinking not how you can get the other person to change those things, because this is your Pluto here, but how you can change yourself to either make this relationship better or to move on to something better. Now, again, this is a very, very long aspect. And so even just it crossing back and forth over your ascendant-descendant line is going to take 2 years. So as you are thinking about this, you're just at the very beginnings of this. So I'm not necessarily thinking that a lot is happening over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury, which is in your house of career, and it's also moving to conjunct Uranus, which does indicate that something could be changing within your company, within the management of your company, or within the industry itself. And of course, with all of the AI stuff going on, that could change everyone's industries. So this also is, I think that you're getting some sort of information about this. You might not need to make a change right away, although you're getting close to either a promotion or some new job opportunity, or you just making the decision that you're going to move on. So, but with all of that said, there are some changes that could be happening over this 2 weeks that do affect you. And that is, maybe there's a change of management, new rules coming down, or that you're making some sort of determination about what your long-term future is in this place. Now, I just focused a lot on career on that. So let me also refocus this just towards money. And that is that there are numerous money-making opportunities that are going to be all in your periphery, all around you. That doesn't mean that you're running after these or needing to grab these, but just to have an awareness of how many different ways there are to make money. And as you start to make that list, some different means are going to rise to the top as possibilities for you. Now, when it comes to money derived from your business or from your investments, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, and so you're making about the same as usual. With such a strong 9th house, I'm expecting you to be working on your marketing, your messaging. You have a very strong 10th house, so this would be like branding and how you are perceived in the world. So I feel like that is changing, or maybe you're making a push outward. And if you are launching something, don't launch it on the day of the eclipse. That's a day with no energy. Instead, just move forward on things and then launch after the eclipse. Now, and then finally, when we look at money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, that Mercury is going to make a conjunction to Uranus. So before you make some demands, kind of do an assessment to see how the industry is changing. And it's quite possible that your position is going to become more valuable. And then you want to sit down with your supervisor and talk about the future that you have and the potential for more money. But it requires you to think this through before you jump in. And with that Mercury conjunct Uranus, the inclination to jump in is going to be really, really strong. You're going to feel like, suddenly you have an opportunity to talk about this. And that will be great if you have worked it out ahead of time. So take some time now to work that out, because then when the opportunity presents itself, you'll be ready. Okay, Virgo, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in your 8th house. This is about resources. It's also about truth and power. We'll talk about those two things in a moment. So, but looking at your investments and with an eye of analyzing what it is that you're doing, what's your decision-making process about this? Are these good investments, based on the fees, based on the risk tolerance, etc.? This may be that you're implementing some sort of savings plan. Even if you only put $1 into it, you're starting that process and that mindset of saving for yourself first. And so this is also maybe about putting your credit and what kind of debt you have under a microscope to see if there's any way that you can find some benefits or ways to reduce the interest rates. This could be starting, or at least thinking about starting, some sort of passive income business or general business, something that maybe even where you sell a product or you're delivering some digital goods. And then I will tell you that if you're planning to launch a business, this is not quite the right time, especially on the moment of the eclipse. Don't do it on the day of the eclipse. Wait for some days after the eclipse so you can see a visible moon in the sky. So like the first quarter moon would be good. Then you could do some sort of launch. This is also possibly changes around an intimate relationship. So, and this could be based on whether you're receiving the truth, whether you're telling the truth. If you haven't been telling the truth, that might come out, and vice versa for them. This is also about where you're giving away your power. And in every situation where the power lies, and maybe you have some of the power, maybe you feel they have a lot of the power, and is it possible that by a change of attitude that you can regain your power? Now, of course, this solar eclipse is being squared by Pluto, which is in your house of routines. And so this is something that you should consider maybe on a daily basis, every day, asking yourself the questions about power, about control. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is not making an aspect with Saturn. Now, you do have, though, a very strong house of intimacy. And so what could happen is you could meet someone for a one-night stand, or someone who is very physically attractive, but who may not have all of the qualities that you're looking for. So I think that you could meet someone, but this could be also a quite bumpy relationship where there's a bit of a power struggle. So if you want a happy, healthy, new love to come into your life, you may want to wait until outside of this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, and so the relationship seems to be moving forward, but since you're doing a lot of energy about power and control, that if there is an issue that you're thinking about it, but maybe it's not right time yet to bring this up to your partner. And so I see you doing a lot of consideration, maybe having some realizations, having epiphanies, and then later you might bring this up, or the shift that you're making just shifts the relationship without you having to say something. So, but basically in working on the relationship, you're working on yourself rather than making suggestions to the other person. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus, which is elevated in your chart, and that is, it's up in the 10th house, bringing possible opportunities, but this Mercury's, this Venus is not something we've talked about much, and that is because it doesn't figure very prominently in this chart. So right now, the focus for you may be a bit on passive income sources, of course, and business income. This also is that maybe you're just collecting ideas and possibilities. Maybe you're looking at your skill set and saying, what do I need to work on? There's possible that you're going to have some people maybe mention some opportunities, but it may not be quite time to take them yet. So you might just want to wait till the dust settles with this eclipse and see then where the path is opening up. Now, when it comes to money from your business or from your investments, Venus is making a semi-sextile to Mars, which does mean that there are some opportunities to make more money than usual by paying attention to the details. And this, when we're looking at your chart on the whole, paying attention to the details would be really examining what's going on with your investments and your business, as well as looking at different agreements that you have, the paperwork, your flow of paperwork, your advertising, things like that. So you have some opportunities to make more money than usual over the next 2 weeks. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so this is like a paycheck, Venus is not making an aspect with the moon. And we already talked about this idea that you're receiving information. The information is there, but it may not be time to act on this. Now, Mars is in that house. It's still going to be in that house for a little bit. And so it's possible that someone approaches you, again, with ideas, but nothing seems to be firm yet. And so wait until all of these kind of changes with the eclipse at least go on for the 2 weeks before the eclipse, the 2 weeks after the eclipse, and allow that dust to settle. And then you might see that there is an opportunity in front of you. And at that point, we'll be on the lunar eclipse and we'll be talking about it. Okay, Libra, you're doing this solar eclipse in your house of relationships. That's the 7th house. And so there are possibilities that your relationships are changing. This is not just love relationships. This is how you feel about relating with people in general. This can be a close friendship. This could be how you're meeting people. Are you getting out more? Are you withdrawing and not meeting as many people? Are you focusing on the quality relationships? Are you trying for more quantity? So a lot of energy here is around, what is stopping you from the thing that you want when it comes to relationships. And so when it comes to the existing relationships, and again, beyond love relationships, close friendships and all of that, this is a time where you're maybe assessing what you're putting into the relationship and what you're receiving, because this is Libra, and so it needs to have some sort of balance. And this may mean that you need to speak up about something. This may mean that you need to step up. It may mean that you are having to express exactly how you feel about the relationship, because perhaps you just have different terms or a different vocabulary for how you're describing what you need. Now, in addition, you may be considering some sort of partnership. Maybe you're dating and you're thinking about taking this relationship to the next level. Maybe you are discussing having a business with someone and it's time to get down to the signing of the agreements. So, I don't talk about it very often, but 7th house is also about open enemies. Now, what open enemies means is someone who knows you and yet maybe speaks badly about you or seems to stand in your way. And so the most important thing is to identify this type of person so that you can step aside, so you can step out of their path. That would be the more peaceful Libra way. But of course, I'm very much focused on just the Libra aspect of your chart. You could have some things in your chart that are okay with confrontation. And if that's the case, this might be that time where you're saying something of like, why are you doing this? And again, this could be something where it's just inevitable that this person stands in your way because they're trying to get somewhere and you're trying to get somewhere, and those are in conflict. And then it would be beneficial for you to find a way to stand aside, to, take a detour so that you're not running into this person so much. Now, the eclipse also brings questions about balance in your life. This could be work-life balance. And this could be a balance between you having, a good connection between head and heart. Sometimes when those are out of balance, then you can feel like you're out of integrity, like you really want to do something, but you shouldn't do something. And so that, bringing those two factors into alignment so that you do more of the things every day that make you feel better and healthier, etc. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Uranus, you have a full house of relationships. And that is with Chiron, Jupiter, Moon, Sun. You even have a couple of planets in your house of intimacy. That's the 8th house. So there's a very good chance that someone could ask you out, that you could be in a situation where you meet someone new, that there is this potential. Now, I would not recommend that you have your first date on the day of the eclipse, because that's a day that is too emotionally charged. There's too much things going on that day to really get a clear picture of the person. But maybe waiting a week after and then getting that first date in to see where things are going to go. So that might be the reason that you're not lining up in the aspects right now, is that by the time you get to a point where you can have a date, you're outside of this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-sextile to Mars, and as I just mentioned, you have a full house of relationships. So there's a lot that you can work on in your relationship, and I would first suggest that you start as a united front. What do you agree on? What's the common ground, and how can you use that to help battle the world itself? How can you, get happier careers and a peaceful household and things like that from a united place. And then use that semi-sextile to look at the little details of you saying, like, I wish you would make this sort of adjustment or that sort of adjustment, and just put it out there and see if they suddenly say, oh, I didn't know that bothered you. And then some adjustments can happen. So this is to first, though, find the things that you have in common and then work on the things where you are feeling some irritation. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Pluto, which is newly in Aquarius and now in your house of career and risk-taking, not career, creativity and risk-taking. And then Mars is up in your house of career. That's your 10th house. And that means that Mars is the most elevated planet right now. That gives you many opportunities. So if you wanted to make some sort of change in the way you make money, even your attitudes about money, to let go of negative thinking about money, scarcity thinking, and to think more creatively and be willing to take the risks on yourself. This is not so much about throwing your money on the table and hoping that the roulette wheel comes up with your number. This is more about you saying, I believe in myself and I can do this thing. And so therefore, then you sit down and say, okay, I guess I need a website. How do you build a website? And perhaps, I don't know, you go on ChatGPT and then you say, how do you build a website? And I'm sure it'll give you instructions. So this is where you're believing in yourself and putting yourself forward, and that's going to bring you more money. Now, when it comes to money from your business or from investments, even though Pluto is not making an aspect with Venus, Mars is making a semi-sextile with Venus. So if you pay attention to the little things, the little details, then you can make more money, especially over this next 2 weeks, but going forward. Now, the things that might come up is that maybe there's just a little bit of a box that you check somewhere and then your fees on your investments go down. Maybe this is that your call to action in your marketing is a little buried, or maybe there's too many calls to action and you just need to simplify it. But as with always, with a semi-sextile, you want to look for the small things, the little rock in your shoe that is interrupting the entire hike. And so you might be very focused on the bigger picture that says, my hike is being interrupted. What could it be? But if you stop for a moment and think, all right, let me look at the individual components, then you can find what is stopping this flow of money. You uncork it and then money flows. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, the sun is making an out of sign square to Pluto, so huge opportunity for you now. This is not going to be the only opportunity this year by a long shot, but this is an opportunity for you to venture forward, take a chance, and sit down and at least say to your supervisor, how can I make more money? Not maybe so much I must have more money, because this energy here is still pretty contentious, but to ask advice, to say, what can I do to make more money? And then, of course, when you get that advice, and then you're kind of like, now I have to do that thing. So you may want to wait until all of this lines up into a happier aspect, which it will in a month or so. Okay, Scorpio, you're doing this solar eclipse in your 6th house. This is about work, health, and daily routines. And so the solar eclipse is challenging you in the area of how you're taking care of yourself. And so first, starting with, are you eating healthy? Are you taking steps to get better sleep? There's some great videos on YouTube about how to, like sleep hacks, how to get a better night's sleep. Are you drinking enough water, etc. So, and then, are there possibilities if you are looking in the medical profession for finding good practitioners, whether those are traditional medicine or alternative practitioners? So this is where you have an opportunity to to focus on this area. And then if you don't, the universe, because it's an eclipse, can help focus you by you saying, oh, now I really have to do something about this. And then there's all that scrambling. So it's better for you to proactively look and say, what can I change? What can I transform? And because Pluto is involved in this eclipse by square, it may be, what can I remove? What can I let go of to make myself healthier? Now, all of this applies to not just health habits, but any habits. And, that can be procrastination. That can be, people pleasing. There's so many habits, and this is where the eclipse might be saying, look, yes, there are loopholes occasionally, but you're taking too many of them. Or examining your habits and seeing if you could do external hacks to make those habits easier. That, by the way, is the whole basis of feng shui, is to set your environment up so that you're successful. And so that is to facilitate something like, for example, putting the sweet treats in a very high up cupboard in the back. So you have to get the little step stool. That will slow you down in eating those. I know it sounds like it won't, but it actually does have an effect. This eclipse also is going to challenge you about your work environment, how much you're getting along with colleagues, if there's something to work out in that area. It's also possible that, due to changes in the company itself, you're having to do different things, or there's less people and you have to find more innovative ways to get things done because there's just more on your desk. So a lot of this is about, coming up with new ideas and really examining what you're doing on a daily basis, which, this is where the eclipse is. You're probably doing this already. So this is just a matter of saying, all right, what's the solution? Or what's the next thing I can try if you don't know the solution? Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Neptune's making an out of sign sextile with Pluto. So the energy is now a little bit different or not as obvious. And so that is, if you want to meet somebody new, and you do have some good energy in your house of relationships, it is change up your daily routine. And so that is, if you are always going to a certain coffee shop and you've never met somebody there, maybe go to a new coffee shop, maybe take a different hiking trail, maybe go to a different part of the gym. Even if you're just going to the same gym, maybe do things in a different order. So, and maybe it is paying attention to your environment, who's around you, so that you go out of your way to say, hey, I've never been at this coffee shop. Are the Danish good? I've never been in this part of the gym. What's in order to do, like starting up that kind of conversation. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Pluto's not making an aspect with Venus. Of course, the co-ruler is. Now, that's Mars making a semi-sextile to Venus. So we have there's still a lot of relationship energy going on here. But this is more about having to mesh your daily routines. And so it's possible maybe your partner got a new work shift. And so now you're taking care of the kids in the morning because they're already gone. Maybe this is that you're trying to eat healthy and your partner, that's not a priority for them. And so how can you have those separate meals and not get so tempted by what they're eating? So there is some stuff going on here, and there is opportunities for discussion. So, but most of this is first you making a decision about your own routines versus having to rely on the other person to change theirs so that you'll be okay. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Jupiter, which is in that house of daily routines and work and health. And so all of this money-making activities right now and all the way through mid-May is really going to center on this. So the changes that you make over this next 2 weeks could be monumental when it comes to how you're making money. And so that is that maybe you've been, really studying about, like all these different money-making techniques or how to build a website or how to edit videos or things like that. But it's time to apply this to actual things that you're doing. Or if you're overwhelmed by the study of it, that's because you haven't given it a practical application. And I use the example of somebody who's trying to learn a language by memorizing the dictionary. That's a really slow way to learn a language. versus learning first the phrases that you're going to need to say when you're there and learning to understand the responses you could get. So by applying yourself to something practical, you can make more money. Now, when it comes to money derived from your business or from your investments, Jupiter's not making an aspect with Mercury. Plus, with Venus there, it looks like there's actually more outgo right now. And that is that maybe you are building up the business by buying equipment. Maybe you're placing ads. Maybe you are, hiring somebody to help you with the videos or things like that. So I do see that right now there's more investment money going out, whether that's investing in your business or just your investments. And so it's not time to take profits. This is at the beginning where you're trying to build something and grow something. So it makes sense that the Venus is there, and the Venus won't be there much longer. So this is a time where you're making investments. Now, when it comes to money derived from your career, so that would be like a paycheck, there's no aspect between Mercury and Jupiter. Plus, Jupiter is in your 6th house. Mercury's in the 7th house. So I think that this says that the boss is saying, I can meet you, but not this month. Or, yes, we'll talk about this at your next review, which is in 3 months. Anytime that you push, when you have that Jupiter in the 6th, you're just going to end up with more work. So this may be, what could be better is actually reaching out to colleagues, especially ones who are in your industry but not at your company, and saying, what are you making now? And so you're arming yourself for the time when you do need to make that presentation to say, I want more money. So you're mostly just collecting data. Okay, Sagittarius, you guys are doing this eclipse in your 5th house. This is about creativity, risk-taking, and adventure. Some other things too, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So when it comes to your creativity, what creative projects do you need to finish? What is the thing you want to start? Where are you holding yourself back when it comes to your creativity? Are you so much in a pattern in your life that you're not taking any risks? And I don't mean, like jumping out of an airplane so much as maybe just stepping forward for something in leadership or asking someone out or saying, I do music. Can I let you hear what I'm composing? So, pushing yourself forward in that. This eclipse could be challenging you on what is fun in your life. And if you feel like nothing's fun, finding even the smallest little things of, like I just saw a butterfly outside, so excited, so that's that, to have something there to say, all right, I have this little gratitude moment for the day. This is about, allowing yourself to have a good time, to say, yes, there's times when I work and there's times when I play, and so that you can kind of balance out that so that there is more joy in your life. Now, this is also about romance, and we talk about this a lot for dating. And so if you're wanting to have more romance, this eclipse might, it might be indicating that you need to bring the romance. Oftentimes I hear people who say, I want the romance, but they're wanting to receive it. Can you give the romance? Can you put the secret notes that they discover later, send the flower, think of the place that you could go that would be different and fun. So, can you bring the romance? This is about children. So, because that's related to creativity, what we're giving birth to in the world. And so this may be changing up the relationship you have with your kids. This may be that, you're getting ready for kids to leave the home, or maybe a kid is moving back in. Might be how you are approaching your relationship with your child and taking a new stance about this. And if you're wanting children in your life, this may be that you're saying, all right, you know what, we're going to have to go get some help about this. And so exploring the different options that way. So remember, eclipse energy could cause you to make a decision over the next couple of weeks that unfolds over many months. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Mars is not making an aspect to Jupiter, you have Jupiter in that house, and you will until mid-May. You also have the sun and moon there, which is this eclipse. So you could have a realization over this next couple of weeks that changes your whole outlook on love relationships and makes it much easier for you to meet someone. So this is very much about introspection and looking to see what is that you can change about your attitudes, about how you're meeting people that could lead you to a love relationship. It's also quite possible that a love is coming in, but this is a person so different that you hadn't even considered it. Maybe they have a very different age or religion, or they like a different sports team. So there's something there that makes it less obvious to you, but this might be something that could become a friendship. And so you might want to at least have coffee and see what happens. So you also have a good house of relationships with Venus there. And so there are some possibilities, but because it doesn't line up, the timing may not be exactly during this 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, as I just alluded, the Venus is there. There's no aspect, though, going on between Mercury and Jupiter. And so I'm seeing a lot of harmony in your love relationship. You're both very much on the same page, maybe laughing together, doing some fun things together as you explore what is fun. So that's really exciting. There's not a lot of opportunities here to work on the relationship. So this is more about just accepting the other person as they are. And if there are things that you want to change or work on, just do it outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to friendships, Venus is making a semi-square to Jupiter. Now, I have to say, I think there's only been so far one other sign that is doing any energy for friendships. So when you're doing energy for friendships, this is your opportunity to meet new friends and expand your circle. And so this might be through, networking, or going to a hobby group, going to a meetup group, meeting the friends of your friends. So this is a semi-square, and a semi-square says that there is a hurdle that you have to do to make this happen. And one of those is that the majority of their planets are below the horizon, which means you are working on other things. A lot of them are in that second quadrant, which indicates that you are doing things for other people. And so that area of friendship is, it's not occupied right now. So, but as you go do new fun things, like if you say to yourself, I'm looking at a new hobby, that gets you over to maybe this meetup group, and then you meet new people. So I think that the universe has a deeper plan here. And it says, first focus on what you think might be fun, and then meet the people who also do that activity. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Saturn. And now Pluto, which is making that out of sign square to the eclipse point, is out of your second house of money. It's going to be back because Pluto is not quite done bringing you lessons and opportunities, but right now it has shifted out of there. And so the focus now is on the more practical, to look at what you can do to build a foundation for the business. And that is, a lot of the things that people out there say, for passive income sources or starting your own business or things, they take a while to take hold. And, I mean, like, how long did it take me to get, on YouTube and getting things done and all of that? I mean, I've been doing YouTube since 2013, and the beginning years were a slow and painful process. And when you say to yourself, you know what, that's it, I'm going to pay the dues, I'm going to do that process, your chances of success are exponentially better than somebody who's just trying to quickly get it done. So look at building a foundation of something, and that is a foundation of work, or that you have a solid website, or that you have worked on some skills, maybe, if you're doing video, to do video editing skills, build that foundation, and then from there, then you can build your empire. Now, when it comes to money from your business or from investments, Saturn is making an out-of-sign sextile to the moon, so there is an opportunity. It may not be the most obvious opportunity, but there is an opportunity to make more money than usual. So this might mean some sort of new investment that you hadn't tried before. It could be just a different company to invest in, that you get wind of, or there's something in your business where you find, people want a package of your products, or a new spin-off of a product, or that you are advertising in a new territory or new marketplace. So something is going on here which brings you an opportunity for more money. This is a sextile, so you have to initiate the action. But when you do, you can have more profits over the next 2 weeks. And then when it comes to money derived from career, you have a pretty strong aspect here. Venus is making a square to Saturn. Now, this energy is dissipating. So it's possible you already approached your boss, or that with all the turmoil and layoffs and stuff, you've decided not to approach your boss. You still, though, have a good aspect. So this would mean then going outside and making connections with old managers and colleagues you used to work with, because something can come through that. But otherwise, if you are planning to sit down with your manager, consider that this square could mean that you make more money than usual in your career. I wouldn't recommend doing this exactly on the eclipse, but pick maybe a few days after the eclipse to sit down with them and have that discussion. Okay, Capricorn, you're doing this solar eclipse in your house of home and family, and so from a very mundane standpoint, this may be some problems with the house that need to be addressed, that the air conditioner goes or the heating goes or there's a hole in the roof or something like that. This could mean finishing up some renovations that you have been working on, maybe even with a new contractor, or maybe doing it yourself. So this may be you getting committed to save up for a house, that you've decided that you're really going to focus on that. This may be a time where you're negotiating with your landlord. Perhaps they are looking to raise the rent. Perhaps you can negotiate by staying longer, maybe less of an increase, etc. When it comes to your family, of course, an eclipse can bring a lot of different energies together where you have to work things out, and that can mean that if you've had some trouble with a family member, maybe that is coming to a head. Maybe one of your kids wants to move in or move out. Maybe they're moving in and bringing someone with them, and so now it's going to be a full house. This is also possible that you are exploring what your roots are, and that might mean going back to the old country, going and talking to older relatives about their life experience, looking through your genealogy to see where you came from, or contacting your ancestors through meditation or through prayer. And then, of course, fourth house is about nurturing. And so this is about how you're nurturing yourself, how you're taking care of yourself, not necessarily waiting for someone else to do it, but how are you nurturing yourself through food, through comfort, through self-love. That is what is on the agenda as well. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a square to Saturn. And while a Venus square Saturn doesn't sound so good on the surface, it is the aspect that you need to make something happen. And so the Venus square Saturn does say that it's a bit of a hurdle, that you do need to do something to make this happen. But as you do, and you might feel extremely compelled to make something happen right now, and that is that you have, connected with someone but you haven't met yet, or that you know that you're close to getting a new relationship going. You have a good relationship house, and Venus is in your sixth house of daily habits. All of that is really good. So the only thing I would recommend is don't do a first date on the day of the eclipse, because that's already a very disrupted energy day. And so you don't want to have that as the signifier of the relationship. So wait a few days after the eclipse before you actually have your first date, and you could find someone who's really interesting. And then when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making an out-of-sign sextile to Saturn. So you have, again, good energy for working on the relationship, especially the communication. It's possible that you're coming together to work on a home or family project, and you're a united front now, or at least you have the opportunity to be. This is an out-of-sign sextile. So it may be that you're coming at it from different strengths, so maybe you're the communicator, and so you're going to state things, but, your partner's whispering in your ear about what to say. Or when you're working on the relationship together, you might try by pulling yourself out of your routine, doing something a little different, and seeing how you work together to, drive a boat together or, go horseback riding so that you're in completely new territory. So something where you're doing something different and then you can see how similar you are. Now, when it comes to friendships, Saturn's making a semi-sextile to Pluto, and there are very few signs that are doing any energy for friendships. Now, yours seems to be very much centered with that south node there that on people from the past. And so this might mean that you are connecting with somebody that you went to college with or even grammar school with, somebody from the old neighborhood, or someone that you've just kind of drifted apart from. So now this was a semi-sextile, and a semi-sextile says that there's a little bit of work ahead to, reach out to this person. Maybe you don't even know what to say at first because it's been so long, but all you need to do is say, hi, how are you doing? And that can start the ball rolling. But this is you initiating that energy, and then something can come through. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Uranus, which is in that house of creativity, as well as that Saturn, now in your house of communication. And, we haven't talked too much about Saturn and Uranus in this chart. They don't figure that prominently in this chart. But what does for you is the foundation of home and family. And so this is very much looking at where your creative energy could draw from the family. Like, was your grandmother an artist and now you can pull in that energy? Or this is, what are the messages that you received that are actually holding you back from money? And so looking at family patterns to say, oh, do I manage my money just like my mother did? Do I have a scarcity mentality like my grandparents did, even though they lived in the Depression and I'm not living in a depression? So this sort of energy where you can do some mental work to clear something out could pave the way for much more money. And by the way, of course, that Pluto, which is making the out of sign square to the eclipse point, is in your house of money. So this means you are just seconds away from a breakthrough. And that can lead to you having a new attitude, which changes everything. It allows you to see the opportunities and take hold of the opportunities. Now, Pluto is only going to be there for a couple of months. It's going to go back into your sign, which you're completely familiar with. You've had Pluto there for ages, so that's no big deal. But then later next year, it will be back to bring you more opportunities. But over this next few weeks, and certainly over the next couple of months, you have an opportunity to gain some insight that just breaks down any obstacle or wall between you and what you want to achieve. Now, when it comes to money from business or money derived from your investments, while the sun's not making an aspect with Uranus, it is making an out of sign. I had to look. Out of sign, I didn't even know where to look. An out of sign sextile with Saturn. So this is, it's almost like there's a stack of paperwork. You could find some extra money if you go through this paperwork, but you don't really want to. Or this is like you have pages of emails and there might be an order in there or some sort of inquiry and you have to go through all of that to find it. You have to do some little irritating thing and then you can make more money than usual. This is, it is a nice aspect, but you've got to, because it's out of sign, it's just not as obvious as it could be. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, Mars is making a sextile to Uranus and Saturn's making a semi-sextile to Pluto. So you have double energy for making something happen. Now, I think that probably the biggest issue is that you've got almost all the planets except for Mars below the horizon. So you're going to have to say how you're making your contribution, why you're needing this raise, not because you have bills, but because you are contributing to the company and the bottom line of the company. And so that's the case that you're going to have to make because what you're doing is not so visible. And that might mean that you're not putting your name on what you're doing or that whatever project it is, it's just not finished yet. And so you haven't had that, ta-da, congratulations moment. So this, you can use this energy right now to ask for more money. You'll probably be successful at least to get some more money. So that's a good thing. But if you do want to wait, you will have energy that lines up in the future. Okay, Aquarius, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in your third house. This is about communication, thinking process, general activities, as well as neighbors, siblings, and your vehicle. Okay, quite a collection of things. So, but most importantly, this is about a change of thinking, how you think about something. And, you know, as you watch different videos and you get new ideas, and these could be productivity or spiritual insight or just, you know, somebody says something and it just causes you to click and go, oh, that's a different way of looking at things. That's where you could suddenly come into the light and say, I can't believe I was so stuck before. I didn't even know I was stuck. And now that you're freed, you say, oh my goodness, look at the possibilities. So that's what this eclipse can do. Now, it is quite possible that the eclipse energy is forcing a change of thinking where you do have to shift how you're looking at something. It's so interesting because I was rereading the book The Alchemist, which is a great book. And so I'm reading that part where he was just robbed, and and so he just feels like, like, how could this happen to me? I was following the signs, and then all my money is gone. But the next morning he wakes up and he says, I have a choice. I could be the victim or I could be the adventurer. And what better to be an adventurer who has nothing, who's just going to have a true adventure. And he shifts his mindset. That's the energy that you're doing. That's that being able to shift your mindset and say, I'm going to be curious about this situation rather than feeling like, the universe is just taking a pot shot at me. Now, of course, this is also about writing and teaching and publishing. And so this is about finishing your book or putting your book out there or teaching a class or deciding whether you want to be a teacher any longer. Maybe you want to move into something else. This is about relationships with your siblings. This is about relationships with your neighbors and those people that are close by, and seeing if you can shift some of those. And this is also about, taking the time to move. There's a lot of connection between having the brain really functioning and movement itself. And so that could be learning to dance, singing, which doesn't sound like moving so much, but still there's a lot of moving parts with that. Learning to draw, learning to juggle. So doing something where you are out there, moving, and that will create more thinking and new neural pathways, etc. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, oh my goodness, you are doing some amazing energy. Mercury is making a conjunction to Uranus, and Venus is in that house. The only issue is that everything's below the horizon, which means you have to step out of the house to meet that person. And when you do, then synchronicity happens, unexpected things happen. So get out of the house, look up from the phone, greet the people who are out there. And it may be tough because they're looking at their phones too. And you might have to go, hello, here I am. So, but as you do that, you have an opportunity to meet someone. Now, this is not the last opportunity you're going to have over the course of the year. By far, there's going to be many, but this one is a really good one. And that said, don't have your first date on the eclipse day itself. That's a little too volatile. If you meet somebody, even if you meet them on the day of the eclipse, just try to have that first date, a few days later. I think that would be better. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun is not making an aspect with Uranus. And now Pluto is in your own sign of Aquarius. And so you're changing on a fundamental level anyway. Now, this change is going to take place over a 20-year period. So this is just the beginning where you're starting to see possibilities and you're thinking about all of these different potentials. It's like you suddenly see that there is opportunities where you didn't see them before. Now, this could affect your love relationship. I don't think that you're doing anything about it during this 2-week period. It's possible that they're coming to you because they're doing an aspect and saying, I want to make a change. So, but, if that's not happening, this is more about looking at who you're becoming and then being the leader and saying, all right, I'm going to be happier. I'm going to be more prosperous. I'm going to do these things. Come with me, partner, and we'll do them together versus, saying, why aren't you changing? Because I'm changing. So I know you get what I'm saying. Now, when it comes to friendships, Jupiter's making a semi-sextile to Uranus. So there are opportunities for friendships here. Again, everything's below the horizon. So I would expect is this is a person who's local, somebody who is in your neighborhood, or you find that you really do like your neighbor, or they're at the dog park, and the one you go to all the time. There's somebody that you wave to when you're on your hikes on the local trail. So this is somebody who is close by, who could become a friend, and that's an opportunity. And so the little hurdle that you have to do is just to say, hey, I see you here every day, let's walk together, or let's have coffee sometime. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Neptune in your house of money, as well as Jupiter, which is in your house of communication. And so there's a lot here about you being very proactive about communication, about maybe being more consistent with your message. And perhaps that means that you're posting every day, or perhaps that means that you're posting, and when you do, you're on brand. So this may just mean getting out and saying something about what it is that you want. Do you want more customers? Do you want another job? Are you looking for new investments? So this might just be asking the question, can you help me with this? So I do see some very positive things happening right now. The eclipse can mean that something really big can happen. This may not be something you can really access yet. It's just the idea, but that it comes to you and you have it. And that way, when it is time, you can implement it. Now, when it comes to money derived from your business or from your investments, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, nor is it making an aspect with Jupiter. And so the energy here says that it looks like you may be redesigning things. So that would be like redesigning your website, redesigning your brand, thinking about your investment strategy. Maybe you've been very much stocks and you want to branch out. Maybe you've branched out and you want to focus things more. So there is some changes in this area, but most of this stuff is going to be implemented outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Jupiter's making a semi-sextile to Neptune, so there is an opportunity to make more money. The big problem here is everything's below the horizon, and so therefore your work is not being seen. It's not even just you're not being seen. They're not seeing anything here. And so you're going to have to tell your boss the contribution that you're making. You're going to have to tell your boss your ambitions. You have to be very vocal about it because it's not going to be obvious to the person. So you can make more money than usual, but you have to have some sort of pitch where you say, this is what I'm doing. And then you can start your negotiations. Okay, Pisces, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in your house of money. This means that there are changes that are needed and happening when it comes to the money coming in and the money going out. So now, of course, that could mean that a source of revenue is disappearing and a new source will be coming. And so that can be a job change, or that you were receiving a passive income source and that's no longer working, but something else will come. This can also mean that new sources of revenue are opening up, that you are just starting to launch something, and so that's going to start generating money. The eclipse here also suggests that it's time to look at how you take care of your money. Are you paying attention to what comes in and what goes out? Are you watching your charges, saving your receipts, looking at, tax burdens for the future? Are you thinking about, how to save more money and maybe, focusing your savings versus, just getting coffee every day or something? Do you have a written budget? Do you need to get rid of excess stuff? The second house is about stuff. And so you need to clean out closets and clear things away so that you are no longer feeling like you're just inundated, or that your energy is drained because you come into the house and there's just so many piles of stuff. It could be about your self-worth also, a feeling that you're deserving, understanding that you're worthy of having, things come in and opportunities come in. And then you can, open up your arms to receive. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making a semi-sextile to Neptune, and you have Mars in that house. So you have a nice combination here. To me, it feels like you may not want to get out of the house. You're getting invitations, but you don't really want to go. You know that there's social events out there, but you seem to be a little bit hesitant about going. And it's interesting because the majority of the planets are in the first quadrant this time, and that does indicate that you're quite focused on yourself. What are you thinking? What makes you feel comfortable? How are you working with your body? And so there could be some things around that are causing you not to go to certain things. But if you do have an opportunity to meet someone new. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, nor is it making an aspect with Jupiter. And so your relationship is moving along as it usually does. You have Venus in the 4th house of home and family, so I think you're coming together in some harmony, which is good. And it can, as I was saying about that first quadrant, there's more of a focus on taking care of yourself right now and learning to nurture yourself and not waiting for someone else to approve of you or support you or things like that. But how can you nurture yourself so that you're whole, so that when you're in the relationship, you're two whole people? And of course, that is assuming that you're with a person who is whole also. But as you heal, your partner can heal also. As you find your sense of self-worth, so can your partner, because you lead by example. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mars, which is in your house of creativity, fun, and risk-taking. And so a lot of what's going on with this Mars for you is just figuring out how you can make things more fun. And so maybe you're faced with having to build a website or having to edit videos or having to sell, your products or services. And so how can you make it fun? Can you, watch amusing videos on how to do this? Can you add something to the process that makes it more of a contest or a game? I think there's a term for this, like gamification, I think is the term, where you might race against the clock to finish something, or where you try to check off everything off of your to-do list as though it were a game. So there's definite opportunities. There is opportunities for making money by bringing joy to others. So looking at businesses or activities that you can do that make people happy, that could bring you some money. This is also about stepping outside of your comfort zone. Mars is very proactive, and so doing something you haven't done before, maybe getting on stage and speaking, maybe posting more often, or maybe calling up someone and say, I have a great product. I think, give me 5 minutes and let me do a pitch for this. Additionally, I have to say that your house of money is, of course, really strong, which we were already saying because it has Chiron, Jupiter, Moon, and Sun there. And so money is definitely a focus this time. But as you get out of this second house energy and move to the 5th house of creativity and fun, you can shift it to that sense of, how can I make this exciting? How can I make this pleasurable? How can I make this an adventure? Now, when it comes to money derived from your business or from investments, it's likely you're making more than usual because Venus is making a semi-sextile to Mars. Now, with a semi-sextile, it says pay attention to the details. So you are going to make more money when you are aware of the details so that there isn't a loss. So you're not getting people saying, I didn't get the product, so you got to give me a refund or things like that. So looking at the smaller details to say, am I missing something? Did I miss an order? Did somebody say they wanted a consultation and I wasn't thinking about it, so I didn't get back to them? Doing those sort of things helps you make that additional money. And then when we look at money derived from career, so like a paycheck, you have a very strong money house. And I think that's going to be more important than the fact that there's no aspect going on between Mars and Saturn. So I think you could get more money, but here's the caveat. It may be tough to meet with the person who is in charge. There may be just too much turmoil going on in your industry right now that makes you feel like it's like you should wait. Or they're going to say, yes, you are going to get more money, but you're not going to get it for a couple of months. So I think that you're going to have to look at this and remember with the eclipse, that's a pretty tough energy. And so that might mean that your company is looking at consolidating or downsizing or acquiring another company or doing something that's kind of expensive for them. And so that might tell you that you want to just wait until this aspect lines up in the future, which it will. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe and stay tuned because LaRue wants to say hi.